The house is known as Marol Bari. Padmaja's grandfather's name was Miafar Marol. He was a respected man of the village. He built a huge tin house on 6 acres of land for 4 boys. The 2 sons were killed 16 years ago in the Battle of Sal in 1971. Both were used in Togbog. Another died of cholera at the age of 8. Morshed Marol remained. Currently this house is under Morshed. He doesn't always stay though. The entire house is surrounded by trees. River behind the house. At 9 o'clock in the night, the atmosphere takes the form of night. This lonely desert of night is filled with the call of crickets. Padmaja's broken cry combined with the rattlesnake created a ghostly atmosphere. It seems that a soul has struck a dead note in mourning for something missing in this life. Hemlata pulled Padmaja to her side. Padmaja wiped her tears with the opposite side of her right hand and said to Hemlata, "Weren't we all invited to Nanabari the day before Uncle went to Saudi?" Kalamoni brothers and sisters came. On that day, Yatra people were coming to school from Dhaka. Do you remember Amma? There is a noise in the courtyard. Hemlata, Padmaja trembled. Purna, Prema kept their ears at the door to listen to their mother and sister. Suddenly the sound of something falling scared the two. He pushed the door and entered the room. Hemlata broke the secret meeting with the elder daughter and quickly stood on the balcony. There is no electricity in the yard. Ignite the hurricane. 3 girls are standing behind. Living alone in such a big house with 3 daughters of a mother is a battle. Hemlata raised her voice and asked, Who is there? I am. Hemlata did not hesitate to recognize this familiar voice. He hurriedly came down to the yard. Morshed is lying next to the gate. Sheet on the body. His chest is rising and falling like gasps, as if the breath is running out. Hemlata grabbed Morshed with both hands. Padmaja Purna comes running. Morshed has emphysema. In this disease, shortness of breath occurs at the slightest movement and the breath runs out. During inhalation, the neck veins fill up. 3 mother and daughter took Morshed and brought her to the room. This is how Morshed hurriedly returned home. Sometimes in the early morning, sometimes in the late night, or sometimes in the blazing sun. Morshed Morol was diagnosed with emphysema 7 years ago. Morshed had asthma. He was also very addicted to smoking. As a result, this disease of fush-fush attacks very quickly. Morshed recovered a bit and slept around 1 in the morning. Purna Prema went to the room and slept. Padmaja is relaxing in the balcony room. Eyes look out the window. Zasna is melting. What a beautiful sight. Padmaja's mind says that mother will come to find him. Will come to hear the whole incident. That's true. Hemlata came after a while. Amma, put out the lamp, said Padmaja. Lowering voice. Hemlata extinguished the lamp and sat next to Padmaja. Padmaja was ready but was left unprepared. Very uncomfortable. He let out a secret sigh. Padmaja was a 4th-class student at that time. Age was 10. Hemlata started sending him to school at a very young age. On that day, everyone was invited to Nanabari. Hanif will go to Saudi. So many arrangements. Family meeting is held. On that day, dance and song were also held in the school grounds. Everyone in the house goes there. Only Padmaja, Padmaja's old grandfather, and Hanif live in the house. Padmaja was asleep so could not go with the rest. When he woke up, he found that no one was home. Hemlata was not present at her father's house as Morshed fell ill suddenly. Lotus or not? As soon as Padmaja was about to leave the house, Hanif's call was heard. Padmaja smiled sweetly and nodded. Hanif's greedy gaze then roamed the whole body of Padmaja. The fair skin of this girl attracts Hanif with a distorted brain. Come to my house. Simple childish Padmaja responded to uncle's call. He heard that uncles and aunts are not in trouble. However, that day he knew his uncle as a grave danger. As soon as Padmaja entered the room, Hanif closed the door. How Padmaja's heart was raised seeing Hanif's strange look and the door being closed. Hanif started making ugly gestures. Padmaja looks very sad. Afraid. Meanwhile, let's talk to you. Hanif sits on the bed and calls Padmaja. Padmaja hesitates to approach. Hanif took Padmaja's right hand and pulled her on his lap. You know? You are more beautiful than all of them? Hanif's question did not enter Padmaja's ears. She kept twisting to get off Hanif's lap. Padmaja feels very bad about offensive touches. I want to cry. Mokaras can re-sherry. Rest in peace. Don't buy the things of Mama Mela Taisajin. Hanif held Padmaja tightly with both hands. Padmaja can't get down to anything. Uncle, I will go, said Padmaja crying. Where to go? Stay with uncle, said Hanif. The touches of Hanif's firm hands are not only uncomfortable, the sensitive areas are getting poisoned with pain. Padmaja cried. He said in a wet voice. I will go home. I feel pain, uncle. Hanif softened his hand and said in a gentle voice. Well, I wouldn't hurt anymore. Don't cry. Padmaja quickly fell off the lap. Hanif feels like his Azrael. He heard many stories of Azrael from his mother. When Azrael comes to take life, the body will feel a lot of pain. It feels exactly like this moment. Then his Hanif uncle is Azrael. Padmaja cannot open the door. So asked Hanif with fear. Uncle, open the door. Ken? Where am I going to go to you? Padmaja trembled with fear at the sound of Hanif's hoarse voice. His eyes began to water. Hanif forcibly lifts Padmaja in his lap. Padmaja is crying. He is very scared. Repeatedly saying, Mama, I will go home. Hanif doesn't care at all. There is no one at home. Old stepfather doesn't listen. Padmaja started killing and punching Hanif. At the same time started crying loudly. If you cry like this, anyone from next door will come. Hanif's blood is boiling with excitement. He quickly tied Padmaja's face, hands and feet with a veil. The tears in Padmaja's eyes did not reach Hanif's eyes. Hanif is very happy. Demonic pleasure. He lights a cigarette. When he is very happy, he wants to smoke a cigarette. A brutal desire comes to mind while smoking a cigarette. Blowing smoke through the nose and mouth, the cigarette is placed between two fingers and held by pressing the palm of Padmaja's left foot. Padmaja howled and cried. Hemlata hugged the girl tightly with both hands. Padmaja cried and said, Amma, I was suffering a lot then. I felt like I was out of breath. I am calling you Mom. You didn't come. Padmaja's words made Hemla's chest bleed. This is like the brutality of Pakistanis in 1971. He has seen the cruelty of Pakistanis with his own eyes. There is no difference between Hanif and the tyrannical Pakistanis he met. Hemlata is silent, speechless. It is only felt that the lotus of love falls on his chest and cries. The whole body is shaking. Hanif's hands are crushing to wounds. That day Padmaja was not raped for a little while. Everyone returned home. Padmaja is unable to bear the pain of the burnt area and falls unconscious. Padmaja didn't have to tell the rest, Hemlata knows. Padmaja's body trembles and fever comes. Was in bed for 21 days. By that time, Hanif left the country. Padmaja was afraid and shy and did not tell anyone about the incident. When Hemlata saw the burn marks on her legs, she asked, "How did she burn her legs like that?" Padmaja simply replied, "I went to the stove. The wood of the stove seemed to be stepping on it." Padmaja made up the matter. With many arguments. So I didn't hesitate to lie. The whole incident is fresh in Padmaja's heart. How many times has he cried in secret in these 6 years? Always sitting quietly somewhere. Hemlata was not bothered by the girl's silence. Because Padmaja was quiet since childhood. But today Hemlat is very sorry. I feel guilty. He thought that his 3 daughters were like open books to him. You can read if you want. The Padmaja in particular seemed like a clear flowing water flowing through the river chest at the back of the house. There is nothing opaque in his life. Everything is simple and easy. However, how many big spots are shining in Padmaja's life? What a great event was hidden. Girls are born with an unlimited ability to hide words. The matter did not occur to his daughters. When Padmaja calmed down, Hemlata said, "Let's see the foot." Padmaja raised her left leg on the bed. Hemlata takes Padmaja's leg in her lap and looks at the burn mark carefully. The blood gushes up. The violence seems to be looting from hole to hole. I will wipe this burnt spot with Hanif's blood. Hemlata said it so easily. Still Padmaja trembled. What was in the word? Body hair stands up. Hemlata left the balcony room and entered the big room. A few minutes later, Ramada, knife in hand, went into the courtyard. On one side of the yard are hard stones. He kept rubbing the knife on the stone carefully. As the stone is rubbed, it heats up and sparks. Means it is borrowed. Padmaja watches from the balcony. His chest trembled with fear of the unknown. Hemlata was about to cross the balcony to enter the room when Padmaja called out in a worried voice, "Amma. Have you heard that one of Anna's uncle's daughters is missing? The rapist of that girl is Hanif. Buried after rape. This one person from Alandapur is so brutal. I used to study Dhaka then. I came home and found out about the incident. I did not open my mouth that day because of my mother's request and tears. Suppress such a big sin. I was receiving that punishment slowly. I got it completely today. The punishment for my sins is over." Hemlata finished speaking and left the place. What sharp every sentence. Sparks of fire are coming out of Hemlat's face. Padmaja's brain goes blank.